Today on Rescue Vet, an arthritic 10-year-old Argentine mare is suffering from joint pain. Will Dr. Berger's alternative healing process be able to save this majestic horse from being put down? Or is her condition too severe?
I have had to put horses down because of pain, and it's like putting a child down.
A diabetic 12-year-old Chihuahua pug mix with a leg injury has been taken to the hospital for surgery. But if the procedure is too risky, the owner may be left with one option.
Money's tight right now. The risk involved in the surgery is something we have to think about as well.
Today, Dr. Berger is visiting one of his longtime clients, Rose Cease.
I've been taking care of Rose's horses off and on for about 15 years.
I met him when my equine vet, who was probably one of the top vets in the country, retired, and Dr. Berger was his hand-picked protege.
Rose owns and boards several horses at Boone Hall Plantation in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Many of the horses also compete in polo.
Polo in South Carolina is actually a huge entity, and the horses add a lot of ambiance to our guest experience. They are quite the spoiled princesses.
Rose noticed that one of her newer horses, Capricciosa, has developed a problem with her gait, which has prevented her from playing polo.
We knew we had some issues that need to be resolved before she was going to be happy and playing well. They're telling you that they're in pain. You just have to listen to them.
Today we came out to this farm to look at Capricciosa. She's about 10 years old and is suffering some severe arthritis in her back end.
Typically, horses are treated with medication and steroids for joint pain. But that is not a cure and can often lead to more problems.
Steroid injections are a quick fix, but eventually the steroids will disintegrate the integrity of the joint, so you actually end up with a worse joint than when you started.
There's a couple of really bad things that can happen. First, infections from injecting the joints can get systemic, and there's no treatment for that. I mean, they have to be put down. You know, all the medications can cause ulceration in the intestinal tract and lead to such intense pain that the horse rolls, twists its abdomen, and then you end up having to do, you know, an $8,000 to $10,000 surgery, which has a low probability of success.
Dr. Berger will examine Capricciosa by applying pressure to her back to see where she is experiencing the most pain.
First thing I'm going to do is palpate her back and see if she has a response, which she puts her ears back and looks at me like she wants to bite me.
Running his hand over the horse, he could feel the energy and he could feel what that horse was going to let him do and how to gain that horse's trust.
Flickering the tail, putting her ears back, looking around. That definitely hurts. Now I'm barely touching her.
Yeah.
I couldn't break an egg.
She's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When we touch this mare's back, she practically wants to drop to the ground because it's so painful. So for us to just be able to, with our little hands, be able to bring a horse to its knees with pain, obviously indicates that there's something severe going on.
Dr. Berger stretches Capricciosa's legs and applies pressure to the joints to test her reaction once again.
Check these lower joints and upper joints.
You can see when I flex this front leg that she reacts. She doesn't like it.
Check this leg. Check her shoulder.
There's joint fluid that's building up in that area. And that's an indication of some chronic severe arthritis.
So I'm going to hold this for a little bit. Or try to.
Oh, she's definitely laying her ears back on that one.
It just doesn't like that.
if a horse is in pain and stumbles and comes on top of you, I mean, it can even be a life-threatening situation. So it's not just that you don't want to see them in pain, but it's actually, a personal safety issue. So it's really, really important that they're happy, that they're healthy, that they're pain-free.
So she's getting a little shy from me poking her. Scoot over, babe. Good girl. It's all right. It's okay. So all in all, I think that mainly her issues are more in her back than anything. So we'll flex her out, and then we'll jog her off and see how she does. When we jog her off, she doesn't want to move. And that's an indication of pain. And not just mild pain, but pretty severe pain. Not really wanting to do a whole lot. Good. So you saw it took 5 steps before she wanted to do anything. I mean, horses are majestic animals. Seeing them in pain, seeing them suffering, it's a really hard thing to see.
There are some cases when you do what's right for the animal. And if your animal's in pain, you have a decision as an owner. And I have had to put horses down because of pain. And it's like putting a child down, or your animal, your dog. You have to do what's right for the animal.
Matt Hall from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, has brought his 12-year-old Chihuahua pug mix Jack to veterinary specialty care because of a leg injury.
He was coming up the steps in the backyard and just stepped wrong and tore something in his knee. And he started squealing pretty good and then won't use the leg anymore.
Jack's regular veterinarian was able to see him after the incident, but was unable to treat the injury.
She noticed that the kneecap was out of place and that the knee was really loose, so she suspected a tear in the knee and said we need to just get straight over here because it wasn't something they were able to fix at their facility.
Jack is taken to radiology to find out how severe the injury is. Dr. Bianucci has reviewed Jack's x-rays and must decide what the best procedure is for Jack.
Basically, the alignment issue there is it's that this little bone right here, which is the kneecap or the patella, it acts as the gliding surface for the quadriceps, okay? So when you have to bear weight, you flex your quadriceps, and that's how you straighten your leg. Over the years, this thing has been popping out and internally rotating this leg. And so over time, it accelerates the wear on the cruciate ligament, and that's why that tore. So now we have 2 problems on the same leg. The torn cruciate ligament and the patellar luxation.
There are 2 different ways to operate on Jack's knee that will fix both of his knee issues. The newer technique, called a TTA procedure, costs more, but the recovery time is faster. The older technique, called a fibular head transposition, is usually just as effective and costs less, but recovery time can take longer. Because of his small size, it will also be a challenge to fit a plate on his knee.
What we do, oh buddy, it's okay.
Aside from the fact that Jack is 12 years old, he is also diabetic. The combination of his age and health issues can create huge risks during and after surgery.
Diabetes does predispose to wound infections, and they can have slower wound healing. So those are some of the issues that you deal with. The cost of doing the newer technique is more than the older technique. I think the benefit to it is that they feel better much sooner and they heal in about half the time. As far as long-term function, still a little bit up in the air, as to whether they actually do better with that newer technique. In my experience, they seem to. Okay, they seem to be doing better with the newer one.
I'm most concerned not being able to afford the surgery. It's a lot of money. Money's tight right now. And he is a 12-year-old dog, so the risk involved in the surgery is something we have to think about as well.
Matt will have to make a tough decision and figure out which option is best for Jack. There are many life-threatening risks involved in surgery, but without a working leg at such an old age, Jack may have to be put to sleep. Jack's owner, Matt, has decided to go forward with the surgery despite the risks involved. He is leaving it up to Dr. Bianucci to decide which procedure is best. Veterinary technicians prepare Jack for anesthesia. Anesthesia is often risky for older, diabetic dogs like Jack.
I'm very sorry. Oh, it's okay.
Anytime something's going under anesthesia, there is always the risk that something could happen. But we recognize that every time you give it, they may stop breathing and you have to be right on top of them. And there are other individual reactions to drugs and anesthesia. In many cases, it's the life-threatening part of a surgery.
Before determining which procedure is best for Jack, Dr. Bianucci must measure the plate that will go on Jack's knee.
That'll fit fine.
Dr. Bianucci decides to go with the newer technique called the TTA procedure. The outcome usually involves faster recovery, but it is also more expensive than the older procedure. It is crucial that the veterinary technicians monitor the anesthesia while Dr. Bianucci operates on Jack's knee. The procedure will help correct two problems, the torn cruciate ligament and the patella luxation. However, Dr. Bianucci is having trouble contouring the plate and decides to go with the older procedure instead.
We were going to do a TTA procedure, but the dog's very small, and although the plate would have fit, you have to do some funky contouring with that plate to correct the kneecap problem at the same time, because the problem also was that this kneecap was popping out of the joint. I was afraid that we were going to have persistent problems. This is kind of an older but reliable way of doing this.
Although recovery time is longer with the older procedure, it appears to be the best option for Jack and will also save his owner money.
I think he'd be happy with the prognosis, and I think it probably doesn't hurt that the procedure we chose is about $700 cheaper than an alternative procedure, and I think it was the right procedure for that dog.
Jack will be kept overnight and monitored by Veterinary Specialty Care's 24-hour staff as he recovers from surgery. It is important that a close eye is kept on Jack, especially because of his old age and diabetes. Back at Boone Hall Plantation, Dr. Berger has decided to treat Capricciosa's pain with acupuncture needles instead of using steroids and medication.
You could just see, just touching her, how she's swishing her tail and doesn't like it. So we'll get some needles and put them in there. So these are the needles we're going to use. Let her see them, see what she thinks about it. What do you think about it? Yeah?
We're going to start with what's called dry acupuncture, just putting acupuncture in the needles. We're going to put them all in the back muscles. We're also going to do some points in the head.
So basically we're putting the needle in through the skin right there. We're just going to gently push it in a little bit.
Looks like she doesn't mind it.
No.
I've been doing acupuncture for 15 years. It's something that started off slow because the community wasn't really ready to accept it yet. But now we do acupuncture every day in the practice. It's going to basically increase serotonin levels in the brain, so you're not feeling sad because of your pain. Endorphin release so that the inflammatory mediators can leave the joints and basically get out of the body. And then a direct effect on the neuromuscular junction. You let the joints get back to where they need to be.
She just had a nice big deep breath.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Doug.
Yeah.
She's chewing.
Chewing and licking is generally a neurological response to pain relief.
All of that gives you an immediate sense that it's not hurting the horse at all. They actually are getting a great benefit from it.
If she'll let us, we're going to put this up here. And this is really a great spot for increasing serotonin. You see her dropping her head?
Yeah.
I'm not pushing down on it. That's her doing that. So this releases a lot of the serotonin in the body, a lot of the endorphins that are trapped. And they, when you got the spot, this is it.
Lower lips drooping. It basically looks drugged, if you will, but it's not. It's just the feel good from the endorphins.
Oh yeah, look at her lower her head down. She's going to sleep.
So we'll let those sit for like about 5 or 10 minutes, see what her body does with them.
Spoon Hall Plantation, the acupuncture needles are already starting to relieve Capricciosa's pain. Dr. Berger is hopeful that acupuncture will replace the need for steroids and other harmful medications.
We're going to use some heat to sink the acupuncture in, so we're going to use this stick called moxa, basically, to heat up this herb and put it around the needles in order to sink the acupuncture deeper into the horse. Get more of an effect. It's kind of a stimulant for the needles.
She must like it. She's got her head down low. Her eyes are kind of half asleep.
You can do steroid injections every 6 weeks or surgery to try and relieve the pain. And then you have a horse that is not good anymore. I mean, she can't do what she wants to do. And then we hope for this, that you'll have her for another 10 years of good, pain-free existence.
The needles will stay in for 5 more minutes before Dr. Berger runs some more tests on Capricciosa. Jack has successfully made it through a couple of nights at veterinary specialty care after recovering from surgery. He is now ready to go home to his family.
Oh, there's little.
Who's that?
There's little Jackson. Can you give Jack a kiss?
Give me a kiss.
No. I'm a little shy about that.
Okay. Okay. It's very emotional. So he, when he's away from us, he gets a little upset and he pounces at you for a couple of days. Yeah. All right. Surgery seemed to go really well. Glad everything worked out the way it did. It turned out much better than what we expected because we came in not knowing if we were going to have to put him to sleep or if they were going to be able to fix it. They used the older procedure in this case, which is less expensive. Give Jack a hug. Mason, give him a hug. Give him a kiss. No, you're going to be shy.
Jack went home just a few minutes ago, and that really went very well. I did go with an older technique and to repair that knee because I felt it was going to be less likely to have complications. But despite that, you know, I have a very favorable prognosis, and Jack was doing great today, as well as expected.
It will be a few months before Jack is fully recovered, but after receiving the proper care and medication, he should be walking again soon. It is now time to remove the acupuncture needles to see if Capricciosa's pain has diminished.
That's funny. Tug on that a little bit. See how tightly they keep it in?
Oh, wow.
The other thing that's interesting is if you look at this needle, it's bent. The body will bend it to where it needs to go. And see that one consistent again? So she's very consistent. Like that? Okay.
I think so.
Dr. Berger flexes Capricciosa's legs to see if she is showing any more signs of pain or discomfort.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she minds it at all this time.
She's not pulling me all over the place. All right, so we're going to jog her right out that way. Whenever you're ready.
After Dr. Berger took the needles out of Capricciosa, you can notice a much more free-flowing stride. She's feeling good. She's feeling relaxed. She's not in pain. Yeah, no hesitation that time.
No hesitation at all.
Take a horse that's obviously stressed out, in a lot of pain, and by using the acupuncture needles appropriately and the moxa, you've got a horse now that's relaxed, that when you test his joint runs, instead of needing encouragement, just takes off, and obviously is a much more bright and alert animal. I think if she could talk, she'd be saying thank you.
Can we avoid steroids injections with her? Probably, with just doing that. So I would say that she's gonna be a good long-term candidate for it.
She's nice and happy. Happy horse.
We find after a while that we can maintain them with 3 treatments a year. So 3 treatments a year from a financial and physical standpoint is a heck of a lot better than having to have their joints injected every 6 weeks at a high cost. Eventually the back's going to tighten up a little bit again, and we will probably have to redress the joint issues, but we're hopeful that all it's going to take is using the needles, and that's it. I love seeing owners that are satisfied, horses that have gone from being painful to being relaxed, and that's why we're here.
Everything was great, and I anticipate that she will be playing many, many more years.
Remarkably, Capricciosa's pain has dissolved without the use of medicine or steroids. Rose will continue to use Dr. Berger's acupuncture treatment on Capricciosa until she is fully recovered and able to play polo again. 3 months have passed since Jack's knee surgery. He has recovered faster than anticipated and is able to walk and run again despite his diabetes and old age.
Good boy. Jack's doing great. He came in for his recheck. Apparently the kneecap is tracking exactly where it's supposed to.
Surgery went really well. He's healed up really well and done a real good job. Dr. Bianucci's been great. I've actually recommended a friend of mine for his dog to have the exact same surgery.
He's just moving forward with what he's got. His attitude's just the same, and he should function well on it, so that makes me happy.
If he wasn't going to do well with the surgery, I think it would have been too much trouble for him getting around and having any kind of quality of life. We were really concerned that we were going to have to put him to sleep. He's been such a big part of our family that that'd have been pretty tough. Having to explain to a 2-year-old why the dog's no longer there, I don't even know how to do that. These breeds generally live about 15, 16 years, and I think he'll make it at least that long.
More than anything, it shows you what a part of the family these guys are. You know, it shows you that even a little kid feels more complete when he gets his little family member back.
Daddy.
Yeah, you gonna get him? Go get him.
Daddy.
You want to take him for a walk?